Well, you're my hero. I'm going to beat everything you've ever run for, because you're the common sense guy with intelligence, okay? That's your nickname with me, common sense motor. Anyway, the question is going to be after this. Question is going to be after this. This is on a YouTube here, Dick Durbin. I know you're familiar with Senator Dick Durbin. Illinois. On the floor, he asked all in the audience, how many illegal immigrants do we have here? Must have been half the room stood up. He said, this is the future of America. This is what he called it. Future doctors, lawyers,
if the Democratic Party has their way, that will be an accurate statement.
Okay. But my question to you is this. Me being a retired military guy, okay, I want to see someone run for office that I feel like has really earned it, like General Vallely, like General McInerney. They're debating whether to run on the same ticket or not, okay? Now, General Vallely took the last birth certificate from Mr. Obama that he put on the screen for everybody to see. He took it to the CIA, and 10 CIA experts, this is off his website, 10 CIA experts looked at that document and said it's a fraud. Now, General Vallely says everyone in the Congress and the Senate knows this man is ineligible to be President of the United States because he is not a naturalized citizen to begin with, and he has a stolen Social Security number. And everybody is scared to move because of the black population. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not aware of his comments.
You're not aware that he is ineligible, and everybody knows it.
Well, are you talking about Obama, or are you talking about the General's comments?
Obama.
I'm unfamiliar with the General's comments. Now let me mention something as a point of law. Is there irrefutable evidence of Obama being born outside the United States? If not, all he has to do is say, according to my mom and dad, I was born in the United States, and that's all the evidence he needs. Unless there is irrefutable evidence that conflicts with that. It's like when you come into a court of law and you say, my name is Jack Smith. You don't have to prove that. That's what your parents told you, okay? But if there is irrefutable evidence of him being born in another nation, then that is significant. I have yet to see that irrefutable evidence. But having said all that, the place to beating is in November of 2012.
We may not make it to 2012 November.
Well,
but here's the point I'm trying to get at.
You're right.
We do know that Obama is not a natural born citizen. His father's not. That's all we need. His father is not.
The only remedy is for the United States House to impeach. Well, even that won't work because the standards for impeachment are high crimes and misdemeanors. So I guess
I'm asking you to submit legislation for his impeachment.
We can't impeach him. He hasn't filed.
Why can't you? He went into Libya unauthorized. Everything he's done up there has been unauthorized.
The United States Constitution says that the United States Congress can impeach for high crimes and misdemeanors. That's it.
He served on the UN Security
Council. That's a felony that he's committed.
Let me finish. Even if the United States House were to vote impeachment, the United States Senate has to convict. The United States Senate chose not to convict a president who had committed a felony, perjury. No question that perjury had been committed. Now, do you really think that, and that was a Republican Senate, do you really think this Democrat Senate is going to vote to convict Barack Obama? The answer is 99.999% no. So the way to take Mr. Obama out of the White House is November of 2012, and by golly, we better work hard because there are people working on the other side.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me say something and I'll sit down. When I left Vietnam in 1970 after 2 tours, and I hit Frisco International, I was spit on, crapped on, everything else you can think of. We were not allowed to touch these protesters. Changing of America was started right then. And you can see it happening right now in Washington, D.C.
Great Society program.
Because the parents of those idiots there, the children of those idiots, are the protesters that we have today.
Yes. Well,
America's in deep trouble, because of one thing. Number one is we forgot the draft, we give that away, and right today your prisons and your jails are overflowing because of these kids not in the military. The military saved me back when I was a kid. Saved me. Now, if we still had the draft, half these kids would be out of jail. I know that for a fact. Now, America has changed so drastically since that time. Look at what we got running for our leaders up there in Congress right now. And no pun to you. You never served a day in a military uniform. But I've always said this, that for our leaders to be leaders and to be qualified to run for the Senate and the House and the President, they must first serve their country in military uniform to show true patriotic. Now, also for the state and the municipal. I'm very sincere about this. You are not qualified to run for office unless you serve your country. Show us that you're a patriotic by serving your country.
But he's,
Republicans are not very smart.
No.
We're our own worst enemy. Now, that's evidenced by the fact in a recent election in New York, in an area that was always predominantly conservative and Republican. It went Democratic this time. The workers in that campaign for the Republicans said that the main reason it did was because Republicans are trying to change Medicare. Now, as a practicing chiropractic physician for 37 years.
My son-in-law is one of those folks. Not 37 years.
I know how people feel about Medicare. And I've been a recipient of it for more years than I want to think about it. But we keep talking about, Republicans keep talking about cutting, and they include Medicare and Social Security. That's not an entitlement. We pay into that. And it's going to get us defeated because a lot of grandmas and grandpas, if you talk about changing their Medicare, they don't like it, and they're going to vote against it. Now, some gentlemen here have said that they'd be proud to pay more money. I have a man who works for me that draws $480 a month, or $580. He can't stand to pay more. I can, he can't. My mother, who died 3 years ago, she couldn't have paid him more if I didn't help her. You cannot keep talking about changing Medicare unless you want to get free.
Out of curiosity, when do you think Medicare was going to be changed under the Paul Ryan plan?
Well, I agree with what Donald Trump said on Greta Van Susten's show here recently. He said, I like the Paul Ryan plan, but it was a hell of a time to change it, to talk about it. The timing is terrible. Why would you want to talk about it before an election? And why don't you get Obama out of there and then talk about it?
If the Paul Ryan plan passed this year, when do you think Medicare would be effective? What is your impression, having seen the meeting?
I know, but a lot of people don't know because I watch Fox News every night.
Share with them the answer then.
But young folk, here, we've got two factions against us though. And what you're going to say is that it doesn't take effect for, what, 20 years? Or
Folks younger than 55.
11 years.
11 years.
11
Well, you've
years
got
is
two
when it
factions
first
against you then. Right now, you've got old people who don't want to change. And the young people are going to vote against you because they know it's going to be changed in 11 years. So you got both young and old.
Okay. I appreciate your insight. Let me share with you some things about Medicare. Social
Let me
Security.
make one more
Oh,
statement.
go ahead. I'm trying to remember them all.
Let me make one more
Go ahead.
statement. Now, another thing that would help get Obama, I keep saying Obama out of office because that's what I want. That's the bottom line of the whole thing. And as far as cutting taxes, it's not going to hurt a billionaire to pay a little more tax. I am a dyed-in-the-wool Republican conservative. More so probably than Sean Hannity, and that's saying a lot. But it's not going to hurt billionaires to pay a little bit more. I mean, what's the difference between that?
Right.
10 billion and 5 billion.
It's not going to hurt a billionaire. It's going to hurt the people that he otherwise would have employed.
yeah, that's.
In what way?
manifesto.
In every way.
Don't raise taxes,
Progressive
period.
income taxes are on this manifesto.
That is correct. The progressive.
Legal stuff.
Oh, I
Hey,
appreciate.
look, if we go back to this situation,
We
we
understand.
got to get Obama out of there.
We understand how you want the tax bill.
We'll say, hey, we're gonna tax a little bit, we might get him out.
Let me talk for a moment about Social Security, Medicare, and New York 26. All good points brought up. New York 26, Medicare was the big issue. It really gave the Democrats the belief that they could rebound, okay? In fairness to our candidate up there, there was a third-party candidate who had run as a Democrat, liberal Democrat, 3 times for the United States Congress. And then ran as a Tea Party candidate and spent, I don't know how much of their own money, $1 million or $2 million. And unfortunately, enough voters voted for the Tea Party candidate who had run 3 times as a liberal Democrat to have cost us the election up there. Okay? If we'd gotten 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 of those Tea Party voters, then the Republican would have won that race despite the Medicare issue having been brought up. But having said that, 3 entitlements, Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, will consume 100% of federal government revenue within a decade. Okay? Think about that, guys. 3 programs. We're going to have to address the cost. Now, maybe the way to address it is to try to make sure that the fraud that is going on with the receipt of benefits is done. You know what? There's always fraud in government. The government is cumbersome. The government is very poor at catching all of the fraud. And I wish it was otherwise, but history has shown that is the way it is. We are going to have to address all those issues in some way, and I'll be very candid about the way in which I addressed it. You remember that Republican Study Committee vote where we're cutting $300 billion versus the Paul Ryan where we're cutting 70, 80, 90 billion, whatever that number was? We addressed Social Security in there. And the way in which we did it is we said, okay, everybody who's 65 years of age or older, they get Social Security exactly as it is right now. People who are 60, 64, they get Social Security exactly as it would be, unchanged. But if you're 59, you've got to work 2 more months. If you're 58, you've got to work 4 more months. If you're 57, you've got to work 6 more months. People in their 30s are going to have to work till their 70s. That's the way, in my opinion, but if anyone else has any other ideas on how to better control the cost of entitlement, I'm all ears, okay? Given that it's going to eat up our entire federal government budget within a decade if we don't get a handle on it.
Stop the cost of living increase.
But if someone has other options, that's fine. But that's what I voted for, not because I want to. I'm in the category of someone who's going to have to work longer. But because the alternative is we go bankrupt and they get nothing. And the argument that should have been used in New York 26 is that the Democrats, when Obamacare, already changed Medicare as we know it. Yes. Last year, in order to pay for the free health care for the people of working age who should be earning it, they took $50 billion a year out of Medicare. Now, y'all have all seen what's happened. What, 1 out of 3 physicians now around the United States refuses to take new Medicare patients. They changed Medicare as we know it. And in 2024, the projections are that Medicare will be bankrupt. Now, what do you want? Do you want a plan that in 2022 gives premium supports in the private sector, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, whatever it may be per person per year, so that they can buy their own health care, where pre-existing conditions are not a factor an insurance company can take into account? That's what the Paul Ryan plan would do in order to help prevent it from going bankrupt. But for whatever reason, the people in New York, given the barrage of media coverage, they did not understand the Medicare issue. And you're right about the Republicans sometimes being their own worst enemy, because when you're in the heat of battle, the Republican candidate's responsibility is to help people understand the falsity of the attacks that are launched.
All I'm saying, Congressman, is this. We've got to, see, you get on all this detailed stuff. The man sitting in front of his TV, he don't follow all that. You've got to make it simple. Obama won by making it simple.
And that's where we get back to
Obama said if you make under $250,000, you ain't going to pay taxes. Boy, you hear that. But when you get into all this detail, they're not going to pay attention to it. We've got to beat Obama. That's what we've got to do.
And that's why I get back to the point that our Congress is a reflection of our society. we get the government we collectively deserve, because we are the ones collectively, American citizens,